Boy, that hat looks clean. Boy, look at that. NY, baby. Jets. 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 Boy, that looks clean. This is your boy, Big Guns for Hire, from the 787, representing Big Guns Gaming. Another segment was speaking the truth, no lies, speaking truth. And today we're gonna discuss wrestling truth, especially WWE truth. Because there's a lot of lies out there, man. There's a lot of fan love over there, a lot of lies. And we're gonna clear all that shit out. So first I'm gonna give let's see, the WWE, man, has throughout their existence had different eras. Okay? And Vince McMahon, through time, his father and himself, he's mostly himself. His father didn't really have that concept. But Vince McMahon had always he had always kept in touch, and he had an act on to understand what the public wants and what is demanded and what will sell. And he's very successful at that. And he was always able to pick it right at the right time. And this is the reason why wrestling has been so popular. The WWE has had so much success in the past years, because Vince McMahon's ability to tap into the right, into exactly what will sell as far as wrestling goes. So, you go from before Vince McMahon, what people call the golden era of wrestling. And then you go from that to the 80s, where the Hulk Hogan, and it was more of a children era type of thing. And then you go into probably the greatest the greatest era in wrestling, which is the Attitude Era. And then you go from that, you go to what I will call the business era. And now you got what I call the marketing era. So each era of wrestling, has had the audience for it, and that's why they was so good about it. Back in the golden era, when you had the Andre the Giants and the Tony Atlas, Rocky Maivia, that's that era, back in the 70s or whatnot. It had a market for that. It was introduced to the public for the first time. People liked, it was entertaining to watch because, boxing was very, very popular. And there was nothing else besides boxing that was kind of like confrontational, that was fighting like. There was just boxing. That's what boxing was so popular for so many years. People want to see other people fight. People like violence. So, they tap into that, and wrestling blew up, big time. And but that kind of faded away. That started fading away. So Vince McMahon hired Hulk Hogan and introduced to the public the concept of characters into wrestling. Because back in the days, before Hulk Hogan came into the game, it was really the people will use their kind of like use their name, and they will sell themselves. It wasn't really no character per se. It was, but it wasn't. You have heels and you have baby faces, or they had the good guys. You got the good guys and the bad guys, and it was good guys stable against the bad guys stable, and they will clash against each other. This was in the 70s. You know what? Well, in the 70s were more personal. It was like, okay, I don't like you. I want to fight you. It was a lot of beef involved. When Hulk Hogan came, the stables, um, concept and characters came about. The introduction of characters. You got the Brooklyn Brawler, the Iron Sheik. I will humble you. I'll make you humble. And they had Hulk Hogan, Kabbalah, all these characters, and it was catered to kids. To kids at that time. In the 80s, and it was successful, but that started fading out. These kids are already growing up, um, and they are the majority of the market, and the younger kids are not buying into it because now the younger kids, you're competing against Nintendo, and you're competing against, and I think about what I'm telling you because I'm speaking truth. In the 90s, middle after past right at the introduction of the Attitude Era, when Monday Night Raw came about for the first time, Vince McMahon had a lot of competition, and I'm not talking about wrestling competition. Vince McMahon is a smart man. He understands that his competition is not really wrestling. His competition is all the things that will keep people from watching his product, because he knew that he's selling entertainment, not a sport, but entertainment. And he understood that from day one. So when he started noticing that, hey, look, I cannot sell this product to kids anymore because I'm competing against cable TV. I'm competing now against Nintendo. I'm competing against video game consoles. Atari wasn't really competition for me. That's why they got so popular. But now I'm dealing with this juggernaut called Nintendo. I'm dealing with computers. I'm dealing with the web. I'm dealing with a lot of shit here. I need to bring product to sell back to those kids that know my product, that grew up watching my shit back in the early 80s when I was pushing this product and they was eating it up. And I have to remind them that I exist because they have moved away from me. Now these kids are in their 20s. These kids are teenagers, or they're in the 20s. I have to bring them back. That's why the Attitude Era came about, because he felt like I need to forget about selling this to these kids. I need to go back to selling it to the older kids that I first sold to, that audience, the audience from the 80s. So the audience from the 80s don't care about Doink. The audience from the 80s, they don't care about Hulkamania. They don't care about Ultimate Warrior. They don't care about that shit. That's why they moved away from it. They grew out of it. So, but they do care about is blood and beef and confrontation and the titties, and ass and all this shit. They care about that. So I have to move away from these characters, these phony characters, this garbage that is considered garbage now. And I have to get more serious with it. And I have to bring titties into it. And I have to bring sex. And I have to bring, because this is what these 80s kids like. They're adults now. So that's where the Attitude Era came about. and it blew up. He was right. If he would have continued selling what he was selling in the 80s, WWE would not be here. I freaking guarantee it would not be here because people didn't care about that. Look at all these promotions that are stuck with the concept of the 70s. And then the ones that are stuck with the concept of the 80s. They are not, they're still out there, but they are so small. They're irrelevant. Why? Because they refuse to change with the time. They refuse to look at the bigger picture, that you're not competing against other wrestling promotions. You're competing against things that are keeping the interest of your audience, because you're on TV. You know what I'm saying? You are competing against video game consoles. You're competing against movies. You're competing against all this shit because you are in entertainment identity. You're not a sport. It's not like you see the UFC is a sport. So the competition is like other sports, like boxing, wrestling. I mean, not wrestling. Basketball, football. That's the competition. So Vince McMahon knew that, and that's why the Attitude Era came about. He went back to sell to the '80s kids that now are adults, and that's what they want to see. And he blew up because that's a big ass fucking audience. They blew up. It blew up. But then after that, he noticed that now these guys are in their late 30s, their late 40s. They're not really into it. I lost that audience. That audience is not there no more. I need to sell this. I need to see what can I do, because this, especially when the main guys that are responsible for making this a success have moved on with their lives. I'm talking about Steve Austin. He got hurt really bad where he couldn't do it no more like he used to. Undertaker's getting older. He cannot go like he used to. The Rock, he moved on into making movies. So he understood. He said, listen, I don't have my three guys that were responsible for making the Attitude Era what it is. They are my main engine. My engine is not there no more. I have to change. I cannot be the Attitude Era no more. So he went back into trying to sell it to the kids, but not like he did in the 80s. Now he had to sell it to the millennia kids. What is the millennia kids about? And that's what John Cena came about. The millennia kids about hip hop. The millennia kids about the millennia kids is about hip hop. The millennia kids is about partying, partying, and the millennia kid is a different brand of kids. It's weird, So he's selling to these millennia kids, and it was a success because the main person behind it was John Cena. John Cena always understood what the kids want at that time. When he came out, kids want hip hop. Kids wants they into the hip hop culture. Hip hop culture is very big right now, and he starts selling it to that, and he grew a big fan base because it was clean hip hop, and it was very clean. It was for the kids, and the kids felt like this guy is for us. And the military, he supported the military. That helped a lot. The military, he sold it to them too, and he kept it alive. But now those kids have grown up, and they don't care for that anymore. And and the military don't really care for that no more. They home now. They're now there. You know what I'm saying? They are home now. So they moved on. So now Vince McMahon have went into what is called the marketing era. In the marketing era of wrestling, and this is why wrestling, the WWE, is so bad right now, is because it's about pushing product. There is no more audience to sell to. I don't know if you understand my whole video one I'm talking about, but there is no more audience to tap into. The competition is too great. You know, Xbox blew the fuck off, and it had taken away a large market of audience out there from different type of ages. Who are Vince McMahon, who he's gonna sell to? What age group? People have moved on. You know what I'm saying? People are playing Call of Duty. People are playing Halo. People are playing Xbox games. People, that's what they're using for entertainment. People are no longer care about your product as form of entertainment anymore. Yes, you got people in the audience, and you have people out there that there's the WWE has a large fan base, but as far as grasping new audience and maintaining some of the old audience, they're struggling. Why? Because everybody moved on, and you don't have really a concept to sell to people unless you move back. You go back to the Attitude Era and you become a violent product, because people always want to see violence. People want to see violence. People want to see titties. People want to see ass. So if you move back to that era and you bring that back, yeah, you're gonna get, you're gonna tap again into the teenagers and young adults and shit like that, but it's not gonna be like back with The Rock. It's not gonna be like back with Steve Austin. It's not gonna be back like to the original Attitude Era. Why? You don't have no one in your company that is that talented. The only one you had that was that talented was CM Punk, and you let him go because you didn't take care of the man. So, they can't really go back to that, because who's gonna sell it? So Vince McMahon stepped down and pretty much have Triple H running the show. And what Triple H is doing is just marketing the shit out of the product. He has a marketing plan. He's pushing the network. The promos are 2 hours long because you're pushing product. Everybody's pushing the network. It's no longer about wrestling. It's no longer about character build-up like it used to be. It's no longer about beef. There's no beef in wrestling no more. It's about pushing product, marketing. And that's why the WWE is bad. It's bad. It's horrible. It's a horrible product. And that's why I don't watch it no more. They lost me because I refuse to be forced through my through freaking WWE product network. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see no 3-hour fucking promo from somebody that don't know how to cut promos. And all they doing is pushing product down my throat. I don't care for it. And a lot of people feel that way. You only have these fanboys that have the freaking eyes like closed like this, and they don't want to see it. They refuse to accept the fact that WWE sucks ass. It's a bad product. So they there and they still in business because the 80s, the mid 90s, and the early 2000s, when they had the Kiss era, and then they have the Attitude Era, that put those two eras, pretty much those 20 years of wrestling, of good wrestling, of quality, of good high quality, well done product pushing, not product pushing, but a good, it's like 10, 20 years of good, consistent, good product that was put out there is what kept, it was that good foundation. Is what I'm trying to tell you guys. The WWE is still in business because those 20 years between 85 and 2005, 20 years, it built a foundation strong enough to have this $1 billion industry. It built the Vince McMahon with those 20 years and that foundation. He built $1 billion company, and right now, it's a juggernaut because of that foundation. It's not because of what you see now. Because if what you see now after the Attitude Era died, if you were to see that back in the 80s, when John Cena, well, the John Cena thing would be a great success back in the 80s because you were selling it to the kids. But if you would have went from there to what you got now, which is the John Cena thing is dead. It's dead. It's really is dead. The marketing era is what you have now. If you would have had this marketing era back in the 90s, your shit would have sank so fast that it would have sank. You can pull off. You could pull off that. You could continue to sell some product because you have a strong foundation, which was built by the eras that came about between 85 and of 2005. And that's the truth and the whole truth. So that's it for me, man. Later, bitches.